find out in a second. We'll find out in a second.
Number of years resisted among those 18 people was 572. The total amount resisted was 977,000. Plus a couple of people who said, 3 people who said they didn't know how much that they had resisted, so that could bring us over $1 million. The amount that was collected, I'm sure after much hard work on the part of the IRS, was 184,000. So that's 80% of the total still successfully resisted. And some reasons that people gave for being war tax resistors: to stop war and have a non-violent revolution, to exercise personal autonomy by negating authority. Can look myself in the mirror. My conscience is clearer. One of my favorites was, I can't not. People identified various positive and negative consequences. A lot of some people said that the opportunity to live a simple life was really important to them, and to be an example to others. And other negative consequences ensued as well. People are aware of the hardships that people face as a result of that, but people are pretty committed to everything in spite of those hardships. So it looks like, I gave a total, but it looks like the average for resisting was somewhere around 30 years for all the respondents. So there's a lot of really great history and long-term resistance in the room. So thanks to everyone who filled out the surveys. You can still fill out a survey, and hopefully we'll be able to share a little more detailed results in the next newsletter. So thanks very much.
Thank you, Erica. And thank you, everyone, for showing up for the conference and for this granting ceremony this evening. My name is Jay Sordian, and I'm representing Northern California War Tax Resistance in the organizing group, including Mitra. We are going to also be passing around a basket for additional donations, besides the donations that were part of the raffle. I want you to know that essentially we really aren't alone. We aren't war tax resistors who are isolated from the rest of the population, because peace is patriotic, and this country actually, there have been numerous polls. Reuters did a poll stating that Americans, 51% of Americans support reducing defense spending, and only 28% want to cut Medicare and Medicaid health programs for the elderly and poor. There are penny polls that war tax resistors have done, and with those penny polls, they found that 95% of people want 95% of their money to go to non-military purposes, and only 5% to military. So we really aren't alone in this. However, there are a lot of people who have not acted on their desires and beliefs. In war tax resistance, we often, for beginning war tax resistors, we use sort of a little model here, and it's important for people to understand what they believe first. Why do they want to do war tax resistance? Second, what do they desire, or what's their vision for the future, which would move them to actually take action? And so once they've determined those two things, is I will do X. And so this evening, we are focusing on people who have strong beliefs, they have strong desires for change, and also they've acted. So the theme of this evening is walking the talk. So those who talk, a lot of people talk in polls, they say they want to change, but are they actually doing anything about it? Well, tonight we have numerous people who are doing things by doing more tax resistance in order to further the goal of peace. I want to thank and recognize the Planning Committee and the other people who have put this together. There's a lot of effort that went into it. And let's see, so at this point, we are going to do part of the granting. Every year, the People's Life Fund, which is an escrow account of refused war taxes here in the Bay Area, we'll go through a process. People apply to have a grant. And Southern California also contributed this year to the granting. And so People's Life Fund is part of Northern California War Tax Resistance, and it has been around for 30 years or so. And this year we are doing granting to 9 organizations, I believe. And so we're going to start by doing some granting. And so the first group, we'll have one of the war tax resistors present a check. So Kathy Labriola, is she in here? She might still be washing dishes. Okay, we'll do her after. So we're going to have Dave Gross introduce and grant the money to California Coalition for Women's Prisons. We're just moving the schedule out.
I've been resisting war taxes since 2003, since the Iraq War. I decided at that point that I was really going to have a hard time looking myself in the mirror in the morning. If I didn't do this, I was against the war passionately. I thought it was a horrible and dreadful thing. And I realized all the time that I was supporting it and paying for it with my paycheck. And that I couldn't just say that I didn't support it anymore, that was just talk. I needed to put my money where my mouth was, and so I started becoming a war tax resistor. And tonight I was thinking about what my vision for the world is. When I would stop, sometimes people ask me, if the war ends, if we elect somebody new, are you going to stop? And I gave a little bit of thought tonight about what would make me think that the country had turned the corner. And clearly one of the things that would signal that to me would be if we stopped this sort of pointless cruelty that we have in replacement of a decent criminal justice system. And so I'm really happy tonight that the first one is to help the Coalition of Women Prisoners, and Deidre is going to tell us something about their good work in making that world possible.
Hello. I never thought I'd be standing up here talking about what it's like to be a prisoner. Sorry, can you hear me? Okay, all right. My name is Deirdre. I'm a former prisoner myself, and this is not what I foresaw for my journey in my life to be raising this issue, but I'm really glad that I had that experience so I could actually represent 11,000 women, at least in California, who are incarcerated at this time, which is a war zone. We live in a war zone, and there are a lot of people who are suffering through the criminal justice system, and not just when they're in prison, but when they get out. So the program that you guys are helping us to launch, and I'm really, really grateful that this money is part of what is going to be initiating it, is something called Peer Advocates for Reentry. Because like when people come home from war, it's really hard to adjust to society after you've been locked up. So that's the work that our organization has done in a whole lot of ways through our newsletter, which you can get. We have copies of our newsletter, The Fire Inside here. It's the longest running newsletter about women in prison in the country, really, I think, about and by. And I won't go into all the things that we do because I'll be taking more than 2 minutes, but what we found with all the people who are getting out with life sentences after long sentences, they're having a really hard time adjusting. And those who know what it's like are the best people to help people through that process. So we want to really put a new model, a system for people to pass on that support and knowledge of how to get through that. So I appreciate your support.
And now we'd like to have Kathy Labriola present a check to the Civilian Soldier Alliance for the retreat for Iraq veterans.
I'd like to ask Siri and Carmen to come up here and to accept this check. My name is Kathy Labriola. I've been a war tax register since 1978, and I'm happy to say that I've been able to keep some of my tax dollars from going to war, and I'm really delighted that some of those same non-tax dollars are going to go to this excellent organization that helps soldiers and young people trying to become conscientious objectors. So Siri, thank you. Sweet, I thought we were going first, so that maybe if we didn't do so well, you'd forget. But my name's Lori. As you said, I work with the Civilian Soldier Alliance. We're each going to do a little bit, so I'll keep it short. Civilian Soldier Alliance is an organization of civilians that works directly alongside veterans and active duty service members who are organizing to withdraw military support for the wars and occupations. So some of that work entails not only building the leadership development of veterans and active duty service members themselves to become a powerful voice in organizing for that change, but also to build a broad base of civilian ally support to support that work. So some of that work includes organizing issue-based campaigns to win short-term victories, including
Operation Recovery, which we believe that, anyway, the point is that withdrawing support from the war by having active duty troops withdraw their consent to participate in it is a way to end upholding the pillars of war and militarism, which is what we're all about. So Operation Recovery was inaugurated a year ago on the last anniversary of the war in Afghanistan by Iraq Veterans Against the War and Civilian Soldier Alliance, and it is a campaign called Campaign to Stop the Deployment of Traumatized Troops, because between 20 and 50% of the troops who are being deployed are already traumatized with military sexual trauma, with traumatic brain injury, or with PTSD. And the idea is that, first of all, the troops deserve the right to heal. They're human beings, and they shouldn't be sent to war wounded. It's bad for them, it's bad for the people they're fighting alongside, and it's really bad for the countries that they're occupying. So, but that would also imply, if they were not deployed, that 20 to 50% of the troops would be undeployable, and that would slow down the war effort. So this is a petition that you're welcome to sign, all of you, to put your support behind Operation Recovery. And it is a nationwide campaign, so wherever you are, you can get hooked into it. And I'm Siri, by the way.
Hey, my name is Adell, and I grew up in a military family and wanted to answer to that part of my own history, and started working with Civilian Soldier Alliance this year because I was really interested in the Operation Recovery campaign. And as Siri talked about, Operation Recovery and Civilian Soldier Alliance more broadly really aims to work with communities that are directly affected by military recruitment and also directly affected by the harms of militarism to withdraw labor support for these wars. But we also really want to acknowledge the work that you all do in actually withdrawing financial support for these same wars, and just how crucial it is to withdraw those tax dollars and actually move those resources towards the work of rebuilding a just society. So we really want to thank you all for your leadership tonight and just give you an idea what's coming up in our work that your support of us is actually going to support this coming year. In June, in Oakland, here in town, we're going to be co-hosting a regional retreat with Iraq Veterans Against the War. We're also looking forward to establishing an emergency fund to just kind of help out with the immediate material needs of veteran organizers as they show up in our work together. And then we're also going to be developing some workshops to build capacity among civilian ally organizers. So thanks again for your work and your leadership and for your support of CivSol.